Sarah's Storytime. I'm glad that you're back. I really hope that you're enjoying these videos. I must admit I'm enjoying making them, and we've got some surprises coming up soon, one of which might be next week, which will be very cool, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. Today's story, as you may have gathered from last week, is that of Cinderella. This happens to be one of my favourite stories, so I really hope that you enjoy it. Now, sit back, relax, pull a chair up, and enjoy Cinderella. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful young lady called Ella, and she had a loving mother and father. Her father was a baron and a very wealthy businessman, and used to go away a lot. But Ella was loved and cared for. However, her mother, unfortunately, fell very, very ill. But before she fell ill, she called Ella, to her bedside and said to her, "My darling, you are beautiful of heart and of mind, and I pray that you will continue to be beautiful of heart and mind. One thing I will ask of you: always give to those in need. Always do whatever is asked of you, whether or not the person appreciates it, for one day you will see so many blessings." Cinderella did as her mother asked throughout her entire life. But soon after, her father remarried. Now, her stepmother and stepsisters were beautiful of face, but ugly of heart and mind. While her father was around, they treated her well and with a begrudging respect. However, when he was away, they treated her appallingly and made her work in the kitchens. Now, one day, when her father was going away, he asked his three daughters what they would like. The two sisters asked for pearls and jewellery and trinkets and fine clothes. But Ella said that she wanted nothing. Her father, however, pressed her, and she replied, "Very well, Father, I will have whatever falls into your lap when you are on your way home." As he was riding home, a branch of a willow tree fell into his lap, and so he gave it to Ella. Ella planted it by her mother's grave, which was at the bottom of the garden, and it flourished and grew into a giant willow tree, and the birds would make their nests in it. Ella would try and visit there often, but it grew more and more difficult, for her father went away on a very long business trip, and her sisters and stepmother treated her started to get worse and worse. They ordered her to work in the kitchen and used to pour lentils in among the cinders of the fire and ordered her to pick them out. This led to her nickname of Cinderella. Now, one day it was announced that the king was giving a ball, and this ball was to last 3 whole days, for the prince of the country was looking for a wife. Now, at this, the sisters ordered Cinderella to make them beautiful dresses, as did the mother. And obviously Cinderella did so, but she asked if she might go as well. Her stepmother poured some lentils into the fire, in amongst the cinders in the fireplace. If you can pick all those up within half an hour, you can go, she replied. Now Cinderella had friends, though her stepsisters and stepmother did not realise her, for all her friends were animals and birds. And so she asked the birds to help her to come and pick out the lentils one by one. They managed to do it in 1/4 of an hour. Her mother was very angry, and so her stepmother was very angry, and so she poured 2 pots of lentils into the fireplace. Now Cinderella knew that it was going to take guts and determination to be able to do this, given that her mother had said that she had to pick them out in 1/4 of an hour. And so she called upon the birds again, and they worked twice as hard, and they managed to do it in 5 minutes. And yet her stepmother would not allow her to go to the ball. The stepmother and the stepsisters left in their finery in a beautiful carriage. Cinderella sat by the fire a while. Then an idea came to her. She ran full pelt down the garden to her mother's grave and called upon the very name of the Lord and asked to be able to go to the ball. The birds heard her plea and they flew off. She asked for a dress as beautiful as the sun, and so they came back with a dress made of gold, with topazes weaved into the sewing, and with gold slippers to place on her feet. She changed like lightning out of her scullery-maid uniform and put on the dress. Then she headed to the ball. When the prince caught sight of her, he would dance with no one else. She danced all night, much to the envy of everyone, including her stepsisters and stepmother, who did not know who this person was. However, it came to be near midnight. She saw that her stepmother and stepsister were leaving, and so dashed out. The prince tried to follow after her, but she knew the passageways of the castle so well, having played there somewhat as a child. And she ran back so that she got there before her stepsisters and stepmother, changed back into her outfit and hid the dress safely, as well as this, and gave the dress back to the tree. The next night was much the same, for she felt such a strong attraction to the prince. She asked for a dress as beautiful as shining as the stars, and so she was adorned in a satin robe made of silver, with diamonds encrusted in the dress, and a pair of silver slippers, so delicate and fine that you would have wept at the craftsmanship. Again, the prince would not dance with anyone else. And again, as soon as she saw that her stepmother and stepsister were about to leave, she ran off again. And the prince this time had asked the guards to make sure that she didn't get away. But again, she managed to escape from them. She knew one of the guards from childhood, and so he let her over the wall, for they were not that far from her the palace was not that far from her house. And she got home. She took the dress back to the tree as well as the slippers and left them there again. The final night was the night they knew that the prince was going to choose who to marry, and everybody knew by now that he was going to marry the beautiful maiden in the dress of the sun and the dress of the stars. However, this time she asked for a dress as translucent as the moon, and so she was decked out in white with a ring for her finger and slippers made of glass. As she came to the ball, the prince gazed at her and knew that his heart was lost to her forever. This time, however, he was clever and sneaky. He asked the guards to paint pitch on the stairs of the palace so that she would get stuck. However, she managed to pull away as she ran, but she lost a slipper in the process. She realised this and kept the slippers, but not the dress. The prince announced that he would find the owner of this slipper and marry her. And so he started going round the towns and villages in the surrounding countryside. The stepsisters, of course, heard this and put on their best dresses again in hope that he would give up this search and would not, and would not marry her, but would marry one of them. The prince entered their house. Cinderella, of course, already knew that he was coming, for she had seen him from the scullery window. She smiled and fished out the one slipper that she had, kept it safe, and waited. The sisters tried the slipper on, but of course it would not fit. They tried to force it so much, but it would not fit. The prince asked the mother, "Have you no other daughters?" "We have but the scullery maid." "Bring her forth." "But she is of no worth, no value. She has not even come to the ball." "Bring her forth," declared the prince, "for I would see her." She walked in, and he recognised her in a moment. He put out the slipper in front of her, and she slipped it on, then brought out the other one. They gazed into each other's eyes with a love that rivaled anything, that rivaled even the stars. She got taken off to the palace in splendour, and she told the prince, now her husband, what her stepsisters and stepmother had done to her. So he thought, what can I do to make sure that they never do this again? And so the sisters and the mother were invited to the palace. They thought they were going to be escorted there in royalty. However, when they arrived, he threw them into the kitchen, where they were to work for the rest of their lives until they understood the meaning of humility. For all I know, they're still working in the kitchen. As for the prince and Cinderella, they lived happily ever after. The end. I hope you enjoyed that. I really liked it. You can probably tell that I really like doing this. Please don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe, although I really should work on doing it like a GIF or something. GIF, sorry. Next week is a debut. Next week is a story of my own creation. All I will tell you is that it involves a lot of green, a pot of gold, and the end of the rainbow.